Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you so much, KK. Short but sweet.
Did you feel enough love from your mum and dad? Like, why did you have to run away and join a monastery?
Some people have this idea that when you become spiritual, like you lose all your ambition, you're just going to like throw away your degree, you're not going to make any impact in the world, now you're just going to sit around meditating all day. It's actually the complete opposite.
We're talking on the Gita. What would the Bhagavad Gita look like? What verse would be applicable to Arjun if he was here, busy, working in the city, here in London or New York? Find one and please speak about it.
Ashamshayam mahabaho manodur nigraham chalam abhyasena tu konteya vairagyena chagriyate.
It's amazing, yeah.
Two profound questions every influencer should ask themselves. What are we giving to the world? And the second important question every influencer should ask is, why am I giving it to the world?
What's your why? Hi, Haribol everyone. Welcome to this episode of Bhakti Life by School of Bhakti. Today I'm privileged to be with a guest speaker who's going to dig into how the ancient teachings of the Bhagavad Gita from 5,000 years ago is relevant today for busy people like you and I. I'm a dentist working in the city and have a family with 2 kids. And often the excuse for spirituality is, yeah, but I'm just too busy. I don't have time to meditate and reflect. So we'll be speaking to him and hopefully inspire you, our audience, to dig deeper into spirituality. My name's Krishna Kirtan and you can call me KK because I'm short. So today we have Keshava Swami. He's going to be addressing us and answering our questions. He's a monk for 20 years, traveling the world for the last 15 years. And now his job, although he graduated from UCL 20 years ago, now his job is to travel the world and inspire people, making the place a better place. So welcome to this podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, KK. Short but sweet.
I do like my sweets.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to be here today and talk about the Gita and the city. It's kind of ironic. I was thinking actually as you were introducing that I've never had a corporate job. I never worked in the city and I don't really have first-hand experience of what that is like, although I interact with that world practically every single week. So I think I still have something to share and be interested to hear what questions you have and what comes out.
Who are the people, because you say you haven't had a corporate job, so some will say he's just a monk and he's a dropout from the world, but people from Google, Apple, Salesforce, Microsoft, flying you around the world to speak to their executives. So how does that work? Somebody who doesn't know how to live in the world is training the people who are making the world work.
I think the world is realizing that they've forgotten about the inner world. This morning I was on a call with Intel employees in Asia Pacific, and I was talking to them about how Intel is so important, although it's losing its ground in the world today. We won't go there. It's so important because Intel provides the machinery. It's like the invisible power behind the device, but nobody sees it. And I was telling the employees of Intel inside, there's so much inside of them that hasn't been tapped, that hasn't been explored. And that's really what holds the secret to life. And so I think in the world now, people are realizing you can have productivity, you can have power, you can have position, you can have popularity. But if you don't have peace of mind, it all means absolutely nothing.
What does peace of mind mean to you? What does it look like? Is it the person who can sleep multiple hours? You know, I've just got the new Apple Watch and it tells you your quality of sleep. Is it that? Is it somebody who doesn't fight with their spouse all the time? What does peace look like? Somebody that can do more than 10 minutes of headspace. What does peace of mind really look like?
I think peace of mind is living consciously. We live in a very distracted world, a world in which we're bombarded by so many things. And what I tell people, and then people ask me like, what does it mean to live a conscious life? And I tell them you're living consciously when you live with your principles in mind and you live with your purpose in mind. And what you'll find is that in the world, people say, yeah, my principles are I believe in compassion, my principles are I believe in truthfulness, my principles are I put relationships before money. But examine your life. Are you really living like that? Do your actions, do your investments, does your time allocation reflect your principles? Number one. And number two, are you living with your purpose in mind? We get so busy doing so many different things. Is it important? Is it really what success? Is it making me happy? Is it leading to the life that I want to be remembered for when I leave this world? So if we live, but we don't live with our principles in mind and with our purpose in mind, then we're living a distracted life. And that's what it means to live consciously.
Interesting you say about do your investments and your decisions reflect what you say? I love being a father to my son, but often I preoccupy myself with so many other things in the hope that he will appreciate that actually I'm serving others. But sometimes finding that balance and being distracted by the noise. Look, being in the city, everybody is on social media. All businesses run by social media. So there's this thing about an influencer, or me being a dentist, a dental influencer or something. So everybody wants to be big, whether it's on social media or by maybe in the heyday, like their village status or something. But how can we be an influencer but not be influenced by the noise that comes in that distracted world? What does the Bhagavad Gita, the book that you live and teach by, how can we gain inspiration or insights from that?
Yeah. Let me say a few things about influencers. I think the first thing is that everyone is an influencer. Science tells us even the most introverted person will influence 10,000 people in their life. The poet Donne writes, "No man is a social island." So just by your walking, your functioning, just by your life choices, just by your example, you're having an influence on the world, knowingly or unknowingly. So I think the first thing is we're all influencing the world. Now, here's a book, right? And what I tell people is this is three-dimensional. 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So what I tell people is when they think of influence, they only think of one dimension, which is scale. And nowadays you're an influencer if you have 100,000 followers. I'm on 85,000 out there. Help me get to 100. Scale. That's only one dimension. The other dimension of influence is depth. And the other dimension of influence is duration. Someone who can influence on a scale, but who also gives something deep and profound and meaningful, and someone who's able to sustain it for a long time is actually the biggest influencer.
It's interesting, this whole conversation between who's the GOAT in football, Messi, Ronaldo. They both have scale, over 200-300 million followers. They both have duration, scoring 30 goals plus per season for over 20 seasons or 15 seasons. Then the question comes about depth. Ronaldo, we've got this book here by our friend Jay Shetty. And Ronaldo himself says, I think like a monk, because I'm very intentional about everything. So some people say it's Ronaldo who's the GOAT or the greatest of all time because of that depth of discipline. But then some people say it's Messi because of his humility. So it's interesting you say that, because I can see that. I love football, and you used to be quite good at football as well. So I think that's an interesting thing. We always focus about scale. So thank you for shedding that
and
light.
and to give you this example, I picked up the Bhagavad Gita, and we're going to be talking about the Gita. And just want to think about this for a second. This has been influencing for 5,000 years. I just want you to think about that for a second, because we always kind of roll that off the tongue like, the Bhagavad Gita is a 5,000-year-old book. What in this world has lasted for 5,000 years? Fashions change. Famous people change. Trends are always moving. everything is in constant flux. Yet here we have something which like 5,000 years later is as relevant and trending and expanding its influence. And so I think our notion of being an influencer in the world is a little bit shallow. And we kind of, like if you go onto Google and they'll tell you if you're between 0 and 50,000 followers, I think you're a micro influencer. If you're between 50 and 500, you're like a macro influencer. And if you're like 500 and above, you're like a mega influencer. And it takes no account of the depth and the duration for which you'll be influencing.
And it's interesting, I'm following the DD trial at the moment, Puff Daddy and stuff. And he was a mega influencer, 500,000 plus. So mega influencer over such a long period of time. But that depth of character is missing. Yeah. And then it's all come out in the wash.
Yeah.
So it's a really inspiring
and I'll just say one other thing about influencing, because nowadays people also introduce me as an influencer. And I ask myself two questions. What am I delivering? And why am I delivering it? These are two profound questions every influencer should ask themselves. Number one, what am I actually giving to people? Is it something I've experienced? Is it something that's really benefited me? Is it something that I've really interfaced with and experimented with and really felt the impact of in my life? I feel like so many times we share things with the world that we don't even believe in, but which we think will get us, the interaction. What are we giving to the world? And the second important question every influencer should ask is, why am I giving it to the world?
What's your why?
I would hope, because I actually want people to strive to be the best they can, to find their inner potential, to find a happiness in life which is much beyond what they're experiencing right now. I think some people influence because they want power. Some people influence because they want popularity. Some people want to influence because they just want to defeat someone else. But like one person once said to me, some people love to preach, but do you love the people you preach to? It's one thing to love to preach, but do you love the people you preach to? And therefore, when it comes to influence, I say the biggest influencer is the influencer who touches people's hearts, because that type of influence has depth, it has duration, and it will scale because love is infectious. And therefore, I think there's not enough influencing in the world which is influencing from a space of love.
Interesting you say love. My son, who's 2 years old, he just learned how to say love you. It doesn't exactly sound like it, but we can interpret it as that. And so yesterday I came back from work. I had an absolutely crappy day. My light wasn't working on my microscope. My nurse was just in a mood. Everything was going wrong. I came home with such a weight of stress. And then my wife had made the dinner that I don't like. And I was like, oh my God. But then when he saw me, he said, love you, Papa. And just hearing those words,
made it all
everything
worth it again.
went away. This book here, Krishna, who's God, speaks to Arjun, he was driving his chariot and he's his friend. And if we talk about an influencer, that conversation, which is, I think, 45 minutes on a battlefield amongst millions of people, that very conversation influenced Arjun, who made decisions that then influenced the whole empire, that then influenced the generations afterwards. Could you speak a little bit about, because I like this point about, it's not if you're about a preacher, but do you love the people that you preach to? He obviously loved Arjun, and Arjun loved him. Can you speak a bit about this conversation and how do we love somebody? How do we know if so say you guys, the audience, you're listening to this conversation. How do we actually know if the person who's speaking to us loves us?
love is such an overused term and a understood, if that's a word, concept. Once I used to, for years, traveled up and down the country, stopping people on the street randomly, as you do, just talking to them about spiritual things. And one day I decided I'm going to ask every single person I stop, what is their definition of love? And it was amazing that hardly anyone could really say anything substantial about how they'd actually define love. I think the most basic way to understand love is when you actually want to serve someone with no personal, selfish, ulterior motivation, and you genuinely want to see them become and achieve and find what they're really, really looking for. And that's real love. Whereas love is so much nowadays, the first question when we talk about love is, how do I feel? And you're kind of like, that's totally antithetical to love. Love is all about contribution. It's all about giving. It's all about the other. And of course we feel the beauty of that reciprocation, but that's not the goal. The goal is the other person.
But it's interesting. We're talking about love in its connection to the Gita. These are warriors, kings and soldiers armed, ready to, for some serious beef to kill each other. But they're also doing it to protect their honor, their ego, their position.
Some are doing it.
So maybe you can just discuss
and that's really where we have the two sides. We have the Kauravas on one side, and then we have the Pandavas on the other side, and they're almost like your kind of paradigmatic kind of two sides of good and evil. And they're doing the same thing. They're using the same weapons. They're, exhibiting the same aggression. But what makes one party grounded in love and the other party grounded in lust is their motivation. And therefore, it really is about that selfless desire to contribute, which is driving the Pandavas, which is driving Arjun. Arjun's ready to walk off the battlefield. He's like, I don't need this. I can do without it. Yeah. And he's staying there not because he's going to get something from it, but he's staying there for the love of the people, for the love of his duty, for the love of divinity, Krishna, who's telling him to do it. So much could be said about love, but...
about love. You're dressed in this renunciate clothing. Some will say that you've left your family home. Did you feel enough love from your mum and dad? Like, why did you have to run away and join a monastery?
I think it was because of love for them that I left.
Why? Because they hated you that much?
We'll qualify that now. I think it was a desire to serve them, like I said. A desire to serve humanity. And I realized that living as a monk, deepening my own spirituality, clarifying and purifying my own consciousness, meant that I could serve my family better. Not just my family, but it meant I could serve society better. When we take vows of lifetime renunciation, it's said that we give up the small world of family life to accept the whole world as our family. And my family is also part of the whole world. Yeah. So they're included in that. So I don't feel like I've walked away from my family in that sense. I don't feel like... I feel like now I'm able to contribute to them in a better way, in a deeper way. I'm able to influence them not by just scale of economic things or monetary value, but I'm able to give them something of depth and something duration that will stay with them beyond just this life. And so
Well, a similar thing.
But yeah, my mum would like me to
come back sometimes.
come back. I'm working on it.
Mum, if you're listening, he's waiting for an invitation for some mum's dinner. Pope Leo, who just got acknowledged as the Pope recently, his brother gave an interview and he was saying like Leo used to trim the hedges in his garden, but obviously as a Pope he won't be doing that. But he actually said the same thing, like although in some sense we've lost him and he can't just like roll up in his car and be here, we know that he's doing
something
bigger.
greater.
Can you talk a little bit about finding the balance between our inner mission and our outer mission? Because working in the city or having a family and a mortgage and kids, there's so much things to do. But at the same point in your Gita 3 book, you talk about the to-do list and the to-be list. Yeah. Maybe you could shed light on that and explain how you got inspiration from the Gita in regards to that, understanding that we have to do stuff in the world, but we also have to become something.
The rhythm of life is that we breathe out and then we breathe in. And then we breathe out and we breathe in. I'll charge you for this session later on. Most people don't even know how to breathe. That's how amazing our civilization is. But the point I'm making is that both aspects of life are important. Being productive, being active, achieving, being ambitious in the world is part of the rhythm of life. Mm-hmm. But the rhythm of life is that you also pull back and you invest, you reflect, you contemplate, and you re-energize and you realign in your own consciousness. And then you emerge back into the world, you breathe out, and you breathe out with more depth, and then you breathe in again. And I think we've just become a very one-dimensional civilization. And so, like, some people have this idea that when you become spiritual, like, you lose all your ambition, you're just going to, like, throw away your degree, you're not going to make any impact in the world, like, now you're just going to sit around, like, meditating all day. It's actually the complete opposite.
Especially for people like you.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a micro. But, Srila Prabhupada, 69 years old, rocks up in America with 40 rupees in his pocket. 11 years later, he circled the globe 14 times, opened 100 temples, wrote 60 books, initiated over 5,000 students, and made Hare Krishna a household word in every city in the world. If he was on Instagram, he'd be blowing up, It's just so... What I would say is both of those dimensions of life, the external productivity and the inner cultivation, are not just complementary, but they're actually completely synergistic and vital to the existence of each other. You have to do both. And
what do you do? Because we can see, obviously, you write these amazing books, you travel, you speak at firms.
Simple.
In your breathing out. But what do you do when you're breathing in?
Simple. Every year, disconnect for 1 month. Every month, disconnect for 1 day. And every day, disconnect for 1 hour.
Wow.
And, those who are out there have probably heard me say that a lot of times. And I have to keep repeating it. Because if we understand the power of just spending time away, realigning, re-energizing, reprioritizing, reviewing, we just emerge in the world with so much more presence and so much more power. You know this story of the woodcutter who was on his first day at work, and he was sawing away at the trees, and he cut 30 trees, and the next day he thought, I want to impress the boss even more, so he started working harder, and he only did 25. And then the next day he thought, I got to make up, I'm going to work even harder, and the next day he only cut 20. So he was completely bemused, and a passerby came, he said, what's the problem? He said, I'm completely bewildered. I'm working harder and harder, and I'm cutting less and less trees. And the person looked at him and said, but did you sharpen your saw?
Oh, wow.
And he said, but I ain't got any time for that. I got cut trees. Like, I got a limited amount of hours in the day. He said, you'll continue working harder and harder, and you'll become more and more ineffective. And so, like, when I meditate in the morning, and we have our little kind of morning routine that we do, and then I emerge into the world, I'm like, let's go. Let's do this. I feel prepared. I feel equipped. And I feel that I'm not just going to do it effectively. I feel like I'm going to do it consciously. And that's what I would recommend everyone to do. Like, before you emerge in the world, like, energize your inner world. And I just can't say that enough.
Yeah. Because we always forget, because we get so busy in the to-do list. We just think the to-be list could be done later. I once heard the 9 to 5, 5 to 9 concept, 9 to 5, which is now actually 8 to 8 in working hours. But anyway, let's go with 9 to 5. So 9 to 5, we're working. We're trying to do all the stuff that we got to do. What do we do in the 5 to 9? What does the Bhagavad Gita, what have you learned in your spiritual practice that somebody who's interested in spirituality wants to come forward and actually
you have to know what to do in the morning. It's funny, actually. I was watching something I was looking at something on YouTube, and there was, you get these free adverts before.
Yeah.
So there was this free advert, and usually you just skip the intro, but somehow this one had a really long, so you just had to watch it. And it was this guy, and he goes, I woke up every day at 5 a.m. for 365 days. And I want to tell everyone out there, it's a load of rubbish.
Wow.
And his whole thing was that, he was trying to give another perspective that, it's totally useless waking up in the morning.
Okay.
And he said, I was just tired. I was just like not focused. And all these self-development gurus tell you to wake up at 5 a.m. And I want to tell you it's actually a lie. I wake up at 9 a.m. and I'm doing so much better. I don't know how much he actually believes in that. Sometimes I just feel like people online just have to come up with a different message, to just stand out from the crowd. So I don't know how much he believes in that. But if he does believe in it, or if it didn't work for him, I think I'd really ask him, what were you doing when you woke up at 5 o'clock?
Probably a night shift. That's why it's finding it difficult at 5 a.m.
I mean, what to do at that time in the morning? I tell people 4 things as a beginning. Move, meditate, read, and reflect. What I usually tell people is do a 1-hour routine and try it for 30 days. 15 minutes when you get up, move. We do something sometimes called Surya Namaskar, which is like salutations to the sun. You can do some yoga, just basically get your blood circulation going. And then second 15 minutes, meditate. Turn the attention within, meditate. We obviously do mantra, whatever works for you. 15 minutes, read. Read some wisdom. Look at the world through another lens. Try to see what messages you can carry with you throughout the day. And the last 15 minutes, reflect. Ask yourself, where am I? Where am I going? What do I want to do? What have I observed in myself? What are my hopes, my fears, my inner feelings? And just that. I mean, if you sustain it, you can't be the same person. You will change, So
we're talking on the Gita. You spoke about this guy who watched the YouTube and people are just making stuff up. How do we know all of your insights are actually coming from the Gita? So I want to do a practical exercise here on the podcast. If this Bhagavad Gita conversation, so Arjun, the warrior who's bewildered and asking for advice about life's biggest questions, if that battlefield was here in London or the street of New York, what would the Bhagavad Gita look like? What verse would be applicable to Arjun if he was here, busy, working in the city, here in London or New York? Find one and please speak about it.
Yeah, it's always a difficult one because there's so many verses. New York, London, these are the cities that never sleep. And people in these cities, their mind never seems to shut down. Most people suffer from insomnia. They just can't stop thinking. So one verse we might want to put on the London Underground if we had enough money to get the adverts out there is a beautiful verse in the 6th chapter. Krishna says in Sanskrit, it goes like this. Ashamshayam mahabaho manodur nigraham chalam abhyasena tu konteya vairagyena chagriyate. Arjuna is kind of looking at Krishna saying, my mind is like the wind. It's more difficult to control than even the wind. And Krishna says, Asham Shayam, no doubt. I'm on the same page as you. I totally get it. The mind is a monkey, a drunk monkey. But Krishna says, Mahabaho, you're powerful. You're more powerful than you know. And you have the power to control your own mind. Sometimes we say the eyes see the world. The mind sees the eyes. And the soul actually sees the mind. But we've extrapolated, but we haven't gone to that point of understanding we're even more subtle than the mind with the soul. And so Krishna says, Abhyas and Vairagya. Every day, if you learn Vairagya, number one, to just not take your mind too seriously. Vairagya literally means detachment. So it means the first thing is we don't need to identify with all the emotions of the mind. We can learn to become an observer of the mind. We can learn not to just try to judge everything in the moment. We can learn not to be impulsive and instinctive and feel overwhelmed by the immediate emotions in our mind. We can train ourselves to do that by understanding we're the observer of the mind. And the second thing Krishna says is abhyas, do spiritual practice. So if like these two mantras would become prevalent in people's life, learn to observe your mind and learn to remold your mind.
So you've told us about the remolding, move, meditate, read and reflect. So you've spoken about the remolding the mind, but observing the mind. Can you reflect on a time, because you're still in training unless you've perfected it, but like if you're still in training, can you tell us a time recently where you have been pissed off, where somebody has irritated you, something's irritated you, but you've had to go into that, and but then you've also tell us of a time of when you fell short. Yeah, I don't know whether you blow your lid, but like something like that. Because all of us are hearing this and it sounds amazing. It will be good on Instagram and YouTube, but like everybody is sitting at home scratching their head thinking like, but
how do you not identify with those emotions in the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all of us will say it's natural. If someone's rude to you, you'll feel miffed. If somebody is, giving you lots of compliments, you'll feel puffed up.
See, the first thing is like, as part of the morning routine, the fourth thing I told was reflect. Mm-hmm. You have to live life going forwards, but you can only understand it looking backwards. What happens when you reflect is that in your intelligence, you realize there's a longer story than just what's happening in the moment. And so therefore, when you're more and more equipped in understanding that sometimes the good things become bad things, which become good things, which become bad things, and it's just a constant, then whenever you're going through the emotional roller coaster of life, you're able to detach yourself from those emotions more. In other words, it's not some kind of mechanical thing like now you're going to hear this podcast and you're going to be like tomorrow, like I'm not going to get carried away by my emotions. But if we become deeply thoughtful, if we become contemplative, if we become reflective, and if we look back at our life, we'll always see that things work out.
Can you give an example? Because you dodged the example.
Well, I'll give you an example of when I became a monk. I was studying at UCL, which, as you mentioned, is one of the prestigious institutions, as you kindly said. Thank you for that. So I got my results, and I missed the first by like 0.5%. And, you know, like, it was a bit of a blow to the ego, you know, because what made it worse were like a couple of my best friends did get us first, you know, and that just like rubbed the salt in the wounds kind of thing, you know. So, but it was interesting because at this time I was also simultaneously like getting into my spirituality, and now I reflect, if I had got a first, it would have been harder for me to walk away from all of that. Wow. Yeah. Because, you know, like you get a first, then you get the offers, then you got and then you want to tell everyone, and it's like a whole thing. It becomes part of your identity. When you get a 2-1, it's like, all right, nothing to write home about, you know, it's all right.
It's okay if you got a 2-1, yeah. It's good, it's still good.
But the purport is coming. The 2-1 was actually the best thing for me, because it just gave me that little bit of extra detachment, which said, well, why don't you just explore? And therefore, after my university, I resisted the opportunities to go right there into the square mile. And instead, I ventured to, you know, India and found my life's calling.
And now it's the people that own Square Mile are paying you to come and speak, exactly, to train there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all gone full circle. But I realized that in that moment, you know, when you open the exam results and it's not a first, and it's just like your heart drops in that moment. And if we just have the ability just to reserve judgment and say, there's a journey here. Let's see where this takes me. And I think that's, you know, so yeah, anyway, I mean, just because I was on it this morning, and I won't spend too long talking about this, but Brian Acton worked for Yahoo. 2009, decides to leave. May of 2009, goes for a job interview at Twitter, rejected. But the amazing thing is, that evening he goes onto his Twitter account and he tweets, went for an interview at Twitter, didn't get accepted. Oh well, let's see what life has in store for me. Accepted it with grace. 3 months later, Brian Acton, 2009 August, goes for an interview at Facebook. Comes back, gets rejected. The very next thing he does is he goes onto his Twitter account, tweets, went for an interview at Facebook, met some nice people, didn't get in. Let's see what life's next adventure is. That same Brian Acton then went on to innovate, and he invented WhatsApp. Fast forward 6 years, the very same Brian Acton who got rejected from a job interview at Facebook goes back to Facebook and sells them WhatsApp for $19 billion. We can't judge things in the moment. There's a story going on. And so I've experienced that in my life, that, you know, every time one door closes, there's another 3 that are opening up. And because I've journaled for 25 years and I've seen something always comes from it. Now when I go, I'm not saying I'm perfect, I also get disappointed, but I'm able to at least maintain a level of equanimity and say, let's see what the next adventure is.
Amazing, yeah. It's amazing because you got that vision of a door closing and 3 opening, then you're able to carry on moving forward. Whereas I think, you know, most of us will feel that the door closes and there's a big bang and it's dark and lonely.
And it's the end of the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we got these lovely books here. Interestingly, all about the Gita. You got the Bhagavad Gita, the original. You've got Think Like a Monk, which is Jay Shetty's inspiration from his wisdom from the Gita. And then your book in the middle, like I like Nutella in my sandwich, put the sweetest thing in the middle. So tell us a bit about this book.
Yeah, this book we put together over quite a few years. the world is fascinated with self-development. How do I overcome temptation? How do I avoid burnout? How do I make better decisions? How do I find love? And what occurred to me when I read the Bhagavad Gita was that it's the ultimate self-development guide.
Wow.
I feel self-development in the world without spiritual development can't sustain and doesn't really transform us on a deep existential level. And therefore, what I wanted to try to show the world was that everything we're looking for in terms of becoming the best versions of ourselves can actually be found in ancient wisdom literature.
That's amazing service.
People kind of feel like, yeah, these books, they're good for like when you got, about to, call it a day. And, yeah. What I wanted to show the world is that these books, to maybe use something a little cheesy, are not just the spare tire when you when you got a puncture, but they're the steering wheel, which you have to keep your hand on at every moment to navigate your journey. And so what we try to do in this book is not just give philosophy, but number 2, show how it relates to the needs, interests, and concerns of people in everyday life. And not just that, we try to then give exercises which you can interact with, which actually help you to live it, breathe it, and experience it. And so that's kind of my mission in life, to share wisdom that breathes.
Amazing.
Because I feel too much wisdom is either inaccurate, or even if it's accurate, it's irrelevant, or even if it's accurate and relevant, it's not applicable. So what I try to do in Gita 3 is give authentic knowledge in a way that's relevant, and in a way in which you can wake up tomorrow morning and say, I'm going to do something with that.
That's amazing. And, we went full cycle. Your first answer was about the rhythm of life, breathing in, breathing out. And we're finishing wisdom that breathes. So very nice. And I know you like your acronyms and systems. So I'm very happy that it came full circle. And Wisdom That Breathes is the website where you can keep in touch with Keshava Swami. So look him up. He's also on Instagram, SB Keshava Swami. So he's on 85K. We want to get to that. Was it macro or mega?
Macro
level. So please, if you like this, subscribe to this channel, but also follow him. And imagine a day when we could actually learn from you online from the comfort of our house. Well, here at School of Bhakti, we'll welcome you all to join us at the City Gita course, which is 4 weeks online course starting Saturday, the 6th of September this year, 2025. So if you're available and you've got a computer or a phone, log in and join us. Thank you very much, Keshava.
Thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to say something about School of Bhakti. We all want to change in our life. And I think if you really want to change, you talk about acronyms, the 3 C's. You need consistency, you need coaching, and you need community. And School of Bhakti is such an incredible place because this is where you get the coaching, you get the community, and it also helps you to just go home and live with that spirituality in a consistent way. And so it's such an incredible initiative. I just want to thank all of you for taking it to another level, expanding it. So many incredible offerings. And to everyone out there, it's just take advantage. It's such an invaluable opportunity to interface with a life-changing community and inspirational people. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you for that as well.
Well, you founded it and gave us the mandate to touch everyone's heart. So we're trying.
Thank you.
But thank you so much. Thank you all for joining this episode. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And we look forward to seeing you at the next episode.